Let's talk more about the impact of the Delta variant on the travel industry. Joining us now is Colin Scarola, CFRA Airline analyst. Kind of a body blow that came out of Tokyo, I guess, initially, Colin. I don't, when they said no fans whatsoever, that even, I think, affected some of the financial markets. But did it affect your thinking on travel-related issues?
Not in the U.S., Joe. Good morning, by the way. Thanks for having me. I think it's the U.K. is a pretty good model right now. They seem to be having a wave of Delta cases, but Wembley Stadium was packed on Wednesday, and the deaths aren't really going anywhere in the UK right now. So I think that's a pretty good model for the US. I think we can maintain the current levels of airline traffic, which have gotten up to about 80% of 2019. I think the next leg we'll need to see is international opening up, like State Department and CDC restrictions coming off of international travel. And then I think that's kind of going to get us that last leg.
How do you decide on things like this, Colin? Do you talk to medical professionals? Because this country is definitely different than the other countries. And we know what can happen if, depending on the percentage of the population that's been vaccinated, we know, whether Delta can be a major problem or just pockets in different areas that never gets, where hopefully you can put out those fires in the few areas where it happens. Is that what you do? Do you talk to medical professionals to decide?
I don't talk to a whole lot of medical professionals, and I'm not one myself. I just try to gather as much information as I can and make a rational decision. But I think if you go back to last year, all the medical professionals seemed to agree that if we could get a vaccine that was over 50% efficacy, that would be great news, and it would be enough for herd immunity. And it seems like all the secondary studies are showing that Delta, it's reduced the vaccine efficacy from the 95% range. It's still over 60. So to me, that's great news. And I'd also point out that in terms of how travelers are going to react to Delta, I think that people who are unvaccinated, it's a pretty big overlap with the community that was willing to travel throughout COVID anyway. So I don't really see the people who are catching COVID now or seeing these pockets where the Delta variant might be surging. I don't think they're going to be holding back on travel or activities. And I think in the major cities where vaccinations are high, or the major economic centers of the country, I think it'll look a lot like London did on Wednesday. People just kind of carrying on with their lives.
So can you look at which companies would be most affected by travel to areas of the world that are still questionable versus places? In this country, you saw over the July 4th weekend, it was like record levels.
Well, it wasn't record. It was still down about 20%, but it was a huge jump
from the peak of pre-pandemic.
Exactly. We're still down, but it's been, a great uptrend. What I think the variant, the Delta, where it poses a risk is really just prolonging the point to where we get international travel back. Because right now, if you look at the U.S.'s 15 top trading partners, the State Department has only cleared one of those countries out of 15, as a safe place to travel, and that's South Korea, I believe. But the other 14, they're still saying don't go there, and they have a lot of restrictions on testing when you come back, even if you're a fully vaccinated U.S. citizen. So there's still just huge disincentives for international travel. And if you're United, back in 2019, you're getting 35 to 40% of your revenue from international travel. Delta and American are closer to 30%. So that's huge. And as these variants continue to kind of surge in different parts of the world, I don't think the U.S. government's going to be comfortable lifting those restrictions. So I don't think the Delta is going to be a big issue for domestic travel here. Personally, that's my view. But I think it prolongs the point to where we get the government saying international travel is okay, and then businesses kind of saying, okay, I can finally get my people back on the road.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.